Ooh, all right, we're streaming all around the world, multiple platforms, all that good mess. Got Mo Brossette here. Dude, what you
What's
been up
up?
to?
Oh man, just living that loft life here in Dallas.
Yeah,
Yeah,
in the
making things happen.
lockdown.
Yeah.
How's the lockdown treating you?
Dude, I love it. Lockdown's good. I've had a lot of time to create and put out some cool content. We've got a really nice park literally across the street from my house. So like going over there every day, doing some workouts, doing some grounding, going on runs. Um, I love it. Like, it's one of those things. I was talking to somebody about this a couple weeks ago. I said, listen, 8 weeks ago, every one of you people listening to my voice said, if I just had one more day, like, guess what you got?
Dude, what's the new stuff coming out? What are you working on?
So I'm working on a lot of my mindset stuff. I've created an online 8-week course on my website, Brossette Performance Coaching, for mastering fear. So using some of the language techniques that we learned in the Enlifted program and the mindset and breath work that I teach and coach, and helping people to really learn how to master the feelings of fear, anxiety, stress, worry, and concern. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I got a couple of companies that have purchased the platform for their organization, which is exciting. And I've got some making it out for individuals as well. So doing that, then doing some mobility and breath work for people, putting that out on the YouTube channel. I was doing some at home workouts for folks as well, because I'm a coach as well. So, and I'm doing that, but it seems like everybody is doing in-home workouts,
Yeah.
but not a lot of folks are focusing still on the settling down, the breath work, the mindset, meditation. So, been doing a lot of that and a lot of writing.
Yeah, people haven't completely lost their minds enough to want to get into the mindset stuff, but we're probably days within mass hysteria,
Exactly.
wave number two. Uh, well, by the third wave, people go, "Oh, it's me. I get to
Right.
control." So
But I'm
can
gonna
you?
go pick it right now.
That's right. Can you? Can you? Tell everybody like what a little bit of what's your background and what you've been up to, um, and because I know some of this may have changed it, but I want people to get a snapshot of who you are and what you do.
Yeah. So my background is in the health and fitness industry. I've been doing this for about 25 years now. I have a degree in exercise science, kinesiology, and I've been a personal trainer, strength coach for professional athletes, some Olympians, Division One athletes, pro athletes, and really dove into. I've done that for about 18 years and dove into holistic nutrition and natural and integrative medicine back in 2004, and studied and practiced that. And then in 2015, dove really deep into the mindset space. So focusing on neuroscience, quantum mechanics, positive psychology, and psychology, and helping people really come full circle when it comes to health. So I first
Yeah.
started with movement and performance. Then I went into the nutrition aspect of it. And then I went into the mindset side of it. And that's where I am now. So what I do now is, in studying psychology, neuroscience, neuroplasticity, and the quantum mechanics, is able to tie everything in together for people, when it from mindset to nutrition to physical movement, and how those three things are paramount to overall fitness and health, both mentally and physically.
Yeah. I see a trend with, well, I don't know if I see a well, I see a trend with coaches our age and younger,
Hmm.
uh, are going this direction
Yeah.
where, because I think part of it is because there's just so many people doing the same thing, and you got to go, well, where's my next edge? Whereas I talk to coaches who are in their 60s and 70s, are like, nah, I just got to squat and run and press, and because I mean,
Got those.
I imagine that's what made them stand out in their youth.
Yeah.
And it's great. That's how we evolve. We have to stand on the shoulders of those coaches that were ahead of us, and now
Hmm.
we have to take it to the next level. And now we're talking about psychology and neuroplasticity and things that are things that I imagine. Well, I've noticed I've been way more active on social media lately, and I'm getting a better beat on where the mainstream mind is at. And I'm going, oh yeah, this conversation we're having is fucking advanced.
Exactly. Exactly.
So you know, what motivated you to get into that? Were you looking for an edge, or was it something you were looking for yourself? What happened?
I've always looked for different ways to evolve me as a human and as a professional. The reason I got into nutrition is because I knew that there was a missing piece of the puzzle that I wasn't getting with just training people. And then as I was training people and coaching people, as I coach Ironman, I coach obstacle course racing, and I coach marathon, ultra marathon, all virtually. And when I started really diving into in training for endurance sports, specifically the longer stuff like Ironman, I found out that it was more mental than it is physical. Because you could have the best training plan, you could have the best race plan, you could have the best gear on the planet. But when it comes down to race day, if you get your goggles kicked off, you get kicked in the stomach, or you get a flat, you get a cramp, and you don't know how to handle that mentally, it's game over. And I've seen it happen. So in Ironman coaching, 4 weeks before a race, the most important thing I did with all of my athletes was have them visualize, breathe, meditate, and visualize their race from the start to the finish. Everything that could go wrong. And then they problem solve in their mind what they will do to make it right. So that meditation and visualization was a key component for them finishing such a hard endurance race. And then I was learning that process. I got involved with the Adaptive Training Foundation. It's a nonprofit here. We work with critically wounded veterans and civilians that have suffered from amputation, spinal cord injuries, and neurological diseases like Parkinson's and stroke. And we found a very, very deep desire and need to work with these individuals on the mindset side of things versus just the physical, because we were doing a great job in the foundation, in the organization, and helping them to get past some of the fears, to help them walk again when experts said you will never walk again, and things of that nature, and doing these incredible things. However, we were missing the piece of the puzzle of what happens though once you leave the confines and the comfort of Adaptive Training Foundation, and then you go home and you're sitting with your thoughts, you're sitting with PTS, you're sitting with traumatic brain injury, you're sitting with all these things that make you feel like you're less than when you're by yourself. And we had an instance where one of our athletes, a Marine, almost took his life. He called our founders like, hey man, I can't do this anymore, and had his revolver in his hand and racked around and was about to take his life. And we were able to get him to a treatment facility that night. And from that, two of our other Marines that same week said, hey man, I'm not right either. And until that point, we thought everything was good. Then we were like, we've got to do something about this. And I had been studying it. I had been studying, I'd learned from Deepak Chopra, I'd studied Joe Dispenza, and I was already in that space. And in that moment, I realized that this is where my focus needs to be. And I dove headfirst into it. And from that opportunity, was able to really take the knowledge of mindset, of breathwork, visualization, and reframing language and self-talk into literally saving people's lives in a very short period of time, helping them realize that their greatest potential is yet to be seen and accomplished. And it's because of the injuries that have happened to you that your greatest power is yet to be revealed. So that's kind of a long way of how I got to where I'm doing what I'm doing now. And I take those same principles now, and I go to companies and organizations and speak on how to handle fear. What do you do with your anxiety, with your concern, with your worries, with your frustrations? In the same way I do it with our adaptive athletes that may be afraid to fall, that a doctor said, hey, you're never going to walk again. This is your new normal. This is the new you. And we don't really buy that. We don't believe it. And it's simply not true, because no one can ever say never and always. You put these definitive bookends on a human and they believe that, then that's how they start to react. It's the old tale with the elephant, when they put it in a spike in the ground and they put a rope around it when it's a baby and it can't pull away. And then by the time it's older and it's massive, you can stick a string around its foot and put it in the ground, and the elephant's not going to try to break it because it thinks it can't. So we do the same thing.
Yeah. What do you do with somebody who comes back from, I mean, we have a large amount of the population that's terrified of an invisible enemy right now, right? So whether it be a virus or something else, but the what do you tell somebody who is buying into what the expert is saying? You know, you walk into the office and somebody in a white lab coat who has
Mhm.
authority, and since we were children, we were taught to believe people in authority, and the lab coat is authority. How do you
Mhm.
get someone to break out of that mentality to accept this for themselves as there's another possibility?
Well, listen, and there's a way and there's a reason why we should listen. We should be concerned, but we should not. We have to look at all the facts. You have to look at why they're saying what they're saying, the population that they're usually used to dealing with, right? Like for example, when someone loses their leg in an accident, the person in the white coat, the expert, is so used to dealing with people over the last 50 years, and they've been taught that, look, this is what's going to happen to these people because they're not going to want to move, they're not going to want to do this, so I'm going to use my opinion based on past experiences and make a definitive answer for the future. So when someone says right now that, this is what the future is going to hold, you don't know that. You can't
Yeah.
tell me for certain that that is factual.
Well, this is
So,
this is a status quo. You know, they're
oh yeah.
the it's kind of like a chicken or the egg type of thing. Problem I see a lot of times is because we're telling people, the average person coming through that loses a leg, the same message is being put out, and the average person accepts it as true, and so then that plays out. But then the doctor almost has to watch their own ass, right? They
Yeah.
have
Oh
to,
yeah, for sure.
like,
Yeah.
they don't want to give people false hope. They don't want
Mhm.
to, they want to avoid malpractice. They've got to be
Well,
very conservative in what they're
exactly.
saying as well. So it's an interesting conundrum. So it's not really anybody's fault necessarily. This is just how things
No.
are playing out.
And that's what I explain to people too, and that's what we have to think about as well. And you hit the nail on the head. And that's what I tell people. Look, the doctors are doing the very best they can. They're giving the best advice they know how to give, and that they know is going to keep us, and they hope that's going to keep us safe. And yes, you're exactly right. Like there's a liability standpoint that if they don't say, hey, here's what's possible, here's what the outcome could be, here's where we could be going towards as a society. If they don't do that and then something happens, they can be held liable, they can be put at fault. So that's where us as the consumer and the receiver of this information have to go, okay, I hear that and I understand that. Now let me do a little bit of thinking and some research on my own to make sure that is this right for me, and does this information apply to me, right?
Yeah.
So what can I do in this moment? So if you're telling me that this is something that's going to be that this virus is something that's here, it's going to go in waves, it's going to come back, and the society's not going to get back to where it used to be for another couple of months or maybe even a year. What can I do in this moment to better my situation instead of
Yeah.
going, oh my God, and I'm just going to sit here in my apartment and collect all the fucking toilet paper that I can?
What do you think? I was having this conversation with myself. I've been having lots of conversations with myself. I believe it to be healthy. And what did uh, the personal responsibility conversation is I'm experiencing a little conundrum with this, because you have on one side that we want people to have personal responsibility, but we also want to protect society as a whole. And so
Hmm.
my experience is if I preach personal responsibility too much, which if someone chooses personal responsibility in a situation where they lost their leg and they're trying to get back to whatever it is they were doing or doing something new, or if somebody is worried about the virus that's going on around right now, and if you get too outspoken, if I get too outspoken about personal responsibility, then there's an emotional trigger that goes off in people, and then I go, okay, well, I'm causing emotional trauma
Hmm.
by poking the bear a little bit. I was trying to bring attention to something, but people aren't ready to hear it. So am I doing more harm than good by making it turbulent? Mike from 5 years ago had been like, fuck it, just poke the bear. Now I'm like,
Right.
maybe this isn't really the best thing for everybody. So how do you ride that line when you're talking to a person about personal responsibility and doing your own research? And this is what's really possible for you while still looking out for their, I guess their well-being and like actual like physical safety and maybe emotional safety too.
Yeah. Man, what I do is if I'm talking to if I'm talking to a person, I just ask them where they are, what their feelings are, what their concerns are right now, and help them understand what they can do about it in that moment and in the next several days leading up to that. And you're exactly right. We have to take personal responsibility on what we can control. And what I'm doing is, I'm the same way, man. Old Mo would have been like, listen, just I would have thrown darts at the bear and just with the goal of just trying to get a reaction. But the older, wiser Mo has learned to not do that, because you will get reactions because people are scared, man, and rightfully so. So
Yeah.
anytime before,
It's just death, people. It's just
yeah,
death.
right. You're not exactly. You're just gonna die. Um,
Eventually,
before I
it's gonna
right,
happen to everybody.
it's gonna happen. But before I put out a video, before I put out any sort of post, I just think about it. I'm like, okay, when I say this, my goal for this post, this video, this information is to help you understand what is possible in whatever it is that I'm trying to deliver. Not not saying that you have to do this, it's this way or that way. It's, hey, have you considered thinking about it like this? Like with the concept of when we were all told that, hey, now we got to be in shelter in place until May 20th. Where did your head go? And I made a post about this and put it on a couple different channels of, you're only stuck, confined, and trapped between your ears. And that's something that everyone needs to hear. And whether or not you want to receive that, if you receive that information poorly and judgmentally and think that I'm maybe coming at you, is that me or is that you? And and it's how you are receiving that information and going, okay, what can I do in my situation? And I just made it the point simple. Like, you're not stuck. You can walk outside. You can go in your front yard, your backyard, your carport. There's a park across somewhere down the road. You can go places. So we have to stop the thinking process of thinking that we are trapped and then believing everything that we see and hear and read, because it's in that perception. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
The way I see it is, I mean, there's just certain businesses that can't operate. I think that's really the only. I mean, there's some rules someplace. They definitely did shut down some public parks in California and things like that. I'm fully
absolutely.
aware. Like, but I mean, you're right. It's not the lockdown that most people are imagining. Even like I put myself out in Utah in the country where I can enjoy, whatever, do whatever I want.
Yeah.
But like when I'm imagining people in quarantine back in California, I'm imagining like, oh, they're stuck in their apartment all day long. And I
Yeah.
know that is happening for some people. People aren't going for walks. They're not going out and doing things. And I know that if I stay inside longer than 2 days, I start
Yeah.
getting cabin
Yeah.
fever.
Yeah. It's about really like thinking about it realistically too. Like, we know that, they're saying that you mind the 6 feet space in between you, right? Between you and the next person. So if you're just going to walk outside, walk outside, go outside. If you feel comfortable wearing the mask, if that's what makes you feel safe, then put something around your face, but go outside. And another thing that I've noticed, man, like, I've been, I'm training for a race that I'm going to do a long run at some point this year, whenever it happens. But I was I was running last weekend, and I would notice it when I would run past people, and I'm staying in that, minding my space and making sure that I'm courteous and going around people. People won't even make eye contact with me, man. Like, and I'm like,
Yeah.
listen, guys, and I wanted to post this so bad, but I know it's going to cause a shitstorm. So like, the old Mo would have been like, da, 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 all caps and bold, but I'm like, look, I guarantee you with 1,000% confidence that eye contact is not going to give you coronavirus. So stop being fucking weird and make eye contact with humans. Like, we think that, oh my God, there's a person, I need to shelter away.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Don't do that. Look, smile with your eyes if you're wearing a mask.
Yeah.
That's that kind of the personal responsibility and the ownership of using just common sense. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way in any way, form, or fashion, but it's just facts. Like if I'm 10
Well,
feet
people,
from
people
you
have a,
and you
people have a,
shelter,
yeah, people have a, it's really common is like, oh, I got to avoid people. So, I mean, we can take it to the language game, right? Let's use
yeah,
language. I have to, like, when I hear this, I hear isolation. The word isolation, what's that? I got to isolate myself. And
yeah,
I don't create distinctions within isolation. The average person isn't doing this. I mean, I'm realizing this as I'm talking about it. I go, oh, I can see how language, and I've been out, I've actually isolated myself. So I, I have no idea. I have some resiliency with isolation. It's okay. But like, yeah, it's like, oh, I need to isolate, uh, potentially breathing in someone else's exhale,
right,
and I need to isolate for certain things. But when all you hear is isolate, I imagine the average person, including myself, thinks I need to put a bubble around myself. And
yeah,
in that bubble, eye contact, things like that. I remember about 2 weeks after doing the self-isolation, I did a small little road trip. I went to San Diego from Utah and I came back and I stopped at this gas station and I walked in the gas station and I thought I knew the gas station, but it was like the wrong one. I was like, oh shit, I don't know where I'm going. And I asked the security guard and I stayed 6 feet away, this old guy, hey, where's the restroom? And I could tell he just looked scared of me. And then I
yeah,
felt bad. I was like, oh shit, and
right,
then, and this is the guy that's supposed to be keeping the place safe. He's got the gun and everything,
yeah,
which is kind of funny. But then, like, I look around and like everybody I make eye contact with has like got this, like, do you have it? Do you have
hmm,
it? Do you have it? It's
yeah,
like there's a lack of trust
yeah,
that's going around. It's like I don't, and trust comes from not feeling safe. So what I'm experiencing now is, oh, I go out, people don't feel safe around me. And
hmm,
that is, for me, that doesn't feel good.
yeah,
And
yeah,
the only way I can flip that is to trust them and to feel safe
yeah,
with them, or and demonstrate it. And that's exactly what you're talking about. Smile with your eyes,
yeah.
make eye
Just did.
contact,
Hmm.
and don't look away. Like, really hold that eye contact, smile. I love it.
Yeah, yeah. Look at it. Yeah, look. I was in the line for the grocery store the other day, and it's great. The grocery store here, they have the lines that's 6 feet apart. You stand in the line, and then you just make your way up. And these two guys were. It was the gentleman was probably in his mid 60s, and I guess his son or someone was taking him to the store, and the younger guy was in his probably 50s, and he was like, "Yep." He was like, "Shaking hands is gone." He goes, "You'll never shake hands again." He goes, "That's over." And I was like, "What? Why do you even like you're literally telling this man that you will never shake hands again with someone, that we're not going to do that as a population anymore." And that's what that's that fear mindset that we're talking about. Like, look, why are you creating this scenario and this belief system in this person where he has to now be afraid of being in contact with other humans? And listen, we know this from studying neuroscience and studying quantum mechanics and studying the brain, that what you think you create. So when I start to think in that fear-filled mind state, and I'm always, if I go outside of my home, or if I wake up in worry, anxiety, and fear, and I live that way in this high beta brainwave state, I'm increasing inflammation, and I am suppressing my immune system. So your thought process is the number one thing that could be making you more susceptible to getting sick, outside of coronavirus, just in general in life. So when you think and you have constant concern and negativity and worry and criticism, self-criticism, and more, you're creating this inflammatory being within you. So you have to understand that. Don't be afraid of people. Don't be afraid of things that don't need to have the fear associated with them. especially when you can control it.
Yeah. Where do you start someone? Someone says, all right, I've been experiencing overwhelm regularly. I'm
Hmm.
stressed. I'm experiencing anxiety. I don't know where my next paycheck's gonna come from. I'm fucking freaking out.
Yeah.
I don't know what's gonna happen. I've never had this much. Yeah, I've never had this experience before. There's
Yeah.
so much uncertainty. Where do you
Yeah.
start
Yeah.
somebody?
Working with people like that right now. It's number one, start with your breath. Start with controlling your breathing, and do it's just a big diaphragmatic breath. So I literally have people breathe. It's a box breath. Hold at the top and move around a little bit so you can move the air around. Breathe out through the mouth. Do that for minimum of 6 repetitions, usually around 5 to 10 minutes, and then do a perceptual awareness to get you back in the present. So look at something in front of you while you're breathing, and see things around you. See things in front, above, below, right, and left without moving your eyes, and just become peripherally aware of your space. And then what can you hear around you? What are the things, without trying to define them or analyze them? Just think about what you can hear. And then once you can do that, what can you taste? Is there any sensation in your mouth? And then after you taste that, what can you feel? If you have shorts on, can you feel the air? If you're sitting down, can you feel the chair on your butt and your legs, whatever? And you do those 5 things, you go through the 5 senses, and you're present. So now I'm in the present moment where I'm safe. And then once I realize I'm safe in this present moment, what I have people do is go into an affirmation of what you can do, what you are able to control. Even if it's something as simple as, I can control my breath. I can control what I eat today. I can control my movement today. Simple things like that, because right now we think that all the things that are out of control that's what we focus on, and we stop thinking about what we can do and what we can control. So literally focusing on your breath and focusing on being aware of what you can do today in this moment, and then 5 minutes from now, and then 5 minutes from then. Don't even worry about tomorrow. Focus on right now, today.
Yeah.
And that's the first step. So, dude, let me tell you, I've worked with a lady right now. I've been working with her for about 6 weeks now, who at the time we started, like, hated her job, hated being associated with the people at her job, having issues with her fiance. And literally by doing these steps and having her journal every day, and having her journal in affirmations only, 6 weeks later, she loves the job. She has the best relationship she's had ever with her fiance. Her nutrition's good. She feels better about herself, and she's able to control her mindset and situations and stressors with other people better than she has ever before.
And this is
Simply
6 weeks.
in 6 weeks. Yes.
This past 6 weeks.
Yeah. This past six
So
weeks.
the
Yeah.
world got turned upside down as you started working with this person, and
Yes.
everything improved.
Everything improved. Yes. The supervisor who she loathed 7 weeks ago, they're friends, and she understands his point of view. She sees why. Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. When you tap into your breath, you speak and you think in affirmations, and you focus on what you can do. And then you journal about that daily. And again, in affirmations, your brain starts to function that way. Because, dude, look, we have I think it's an average of 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day. And a majority of those thoughts are the same ones that we had yesterday, the day before, and the day before. So if we continue to live in that state of being and thinking, then of course we're going to create and manifest those negative thought processes. However, if we wake up every morning and we get our minds in a meditative, calm but aware state, and we can start the day in affirmations and positive language with positive journaling, focusing on what we can do. And then you book in the day with an affirmation and an affirming journal. So you're starting and ending the day with affirmations and breath. And in the middle, you're focusing on that. And literally, man, within a 6 week time period, she is a different human being.
And happy about it.
Oh, dude. Yeah, she is. I read her, and what I do, I have her. So she sends me a journal every day. So every morning I wake up to her journal from the day before. And it's really cool because it's like, what are the challenges that I get to face today? What do I get to face today? And she fills those out. Then at the end of the day, she fills out all the things that she did and what she learned. And dude, I wake up every morning, I read that journal. I'm like, oh my God, this is fucking amazing. Like you were just, you're doing it. And I'm
Yeah.
not doing anything. All I did was all I do is show her the way. I'm like, hey, here's the key. Take this. Unlock your future. Here's how we're going to do it. And yeah, right in the middle of a fucking pandemic where everything's falling apart, she's the happiest she's ever been.
Oh man. What are some surprises that you've experienced in the last month?
Surprises I've experienced in the
Like,
last month.
as something happened that was like really, I guess like a win, something that a benefit you've enjoyed in the last month since we've been doing this quarantine thing that
You
you're
know,
like, oh shit, like that made this possible, and I'm fucking thankful for it.
yeah. I mean, honestly, dude, not needing to go anywhere has allowed me the space to wake up and really focus on like getting up and getting into a good morning routine and practice again, and meditation, writing. Like I'm surprised by my creative writing. I've been leading meditations for a meditation studio here called Breathe Mind and Body. On like we do live streaming meditations, and I went back and I've read some of the things I've written. I'm like, shit, that's pretty good. Like, who did this? Who wrote this? So I'm excited about that. That's a positive. And then what else has happened? I mean, in the past month, well, actually, I drove out to San Diego at the end of March and picked up my girlfriend Kirsten, and we drove from San Diego to Utah to South Dakota to Dallas, and she moved here into my 1,100 square foot loft, and we're in quarantine together. So,
Wait, how long y'all been dating? Not that long.
well, no, dude, we met at your New Year's party.
I know. I'm for other people.
For other people, I know. Yeah,
Dude, it's been like in 3 months you moved in together basically. But then it was like not only that, but a focused time together.
And, hey, let's move in together. And oh, by the way, you can't leave. So, but no, it's it's awesome. But it's been great, dude. I mean, it's amazing. Like we're jiving well together. Everything's flowing, and it's cool because she'll have conference calls. I have conference calls. We're like, all right, who's got video? Because if you have video, I'm going to be down here because I'm in a loft, right? So there's really no walls. So whoever has audio goes in the closet.
Is she in the closet right now?
No, she's right here at the window.
Hi, Kirsten.
Yeah. So like she did her Unify Humanity thing for Earth Day today. It was all video recordings and stuff like that. And I recorded a podcast earlier this morning. And so I was in the closet recording a podcast. She was out here doing video. But that's the thing, man. Like, what do you do in this situation, right? Like, what is your mindset in this? You can either have the conversation with yourself, like, oh shit, what are we gonna do? This is how am I gonna have my space? Or you can go, oh cool, let's explore this. Let's have some fun with this thing and see what we get to create together, and you can learn from it. And that's the cool thing, man. When we think about it from that mindset, you're like, what can I create right now? What can I do? Because I got time.
I mean, if you're listening to this, you have internet access, which means you can learn just about anything. So you shouldn't be bored.
Yeah. No, it's like, so, and what I've done also, I just signed up to do NLP and Master NLP Practitioner certification. At the same time, I'm also studying positive psychology certification because I was like, hey, if I'm going to be here and I've got time, I'm going to further my education. So now I'm enrolled in those 3 things.
Yeah, there's the perfect time. I mean, for so many reasons, but the perfect time to learn something new. And I think it's really good time to do anything personal development oriented because, man, if you can do this well, likely whatever we have on the other side of this, you're gonna do really well. So if you can manage this strange time, it'll reflect on the other side. And then we have all this time for reflection.
Yeah.
I'm pretty good about taking time. I'll travel somewhere. I'll spend a lot of time journaling, entire days without electronics. I do that at least once a quarter already, but a whole month. This is a different flavor of it. It's a whole month of, oh wow, I've got hours per day to sit and be with me. It's like there's so many new realizations rolling in. It's
dude, well,
it's
look,
wild.
we know that it takes 21 days to form a habit, right? So what can you create in the next 21 days? It's up to you. What do you want to create? If you want to change, if you want something to be different, what can you change about yourself and your mindset in 21 days? Because you got the time.
Yeah, there's no excuse. No excuse.
No. Mm-mm.
All right. I'm gonna throw one at you. So what would you do with somebody who's lost their job and they're freaking out and don't know what am I gonna do?
Yeah, and that's a tough one. You know, that's where you have to look at, number one, you can file for unemployment, you can file for that, for the stimulus check. What can you control right now? Or do you have enough funds to sustain you for the time being? You know, and listen, I was thinking about this because I was gonna make a post about it. I was just trying to figure out how to do it. I was in this situation about 11 years ago. Obviously, we weren't in a pandemic, but I lost two major clients that were 90% of my income. Dude, I couldn't make a mortgage payment for 3 months on my house. And I was like, what the fuck am I going to do? And I'm sitting in my office one day. I'm like, well, I can sell my mountain bike. I can sell this couch. I can sell that. And I literally started thinking, like, what are the essentials that I need to live right now? What can I get rid of in my space that could bring in some sort of income that would sustain me? What can you do? And is it in your field? Absolutely not. It might not be. But what can you do in that situation? You have to be able to number one, allow yourself to be upset, which is because it's natural and you should be. However, don't become a victim of that situation. Yes, you just lost your job. Okay, let's grieve about that. I mean, put a timestamp on it. I'm gonna be pissed off and mad for 4 hours. I'm gonna fucking kick and scream that whole time. And then 4 hours and 1 minute, I'm gonna get to it. So like I was on a run the other day and I was thinking to myself, because look, you and we're in the same field, right? Like we don't have a steady source of income,
Yeah.
and other people's income are our income. So, you know, if shit hit the fan, I was literally running by some guys that were doing construction, putting up a high rise over here, and I was like, I can do that.
Yeah.
I mean, do I want to work construction? No. But if it came down to that, you're damn right I will. I'll go work at Amazon. I'll do whatever. And but because I know that, listen, this is temporary. How long? How temporary? I'm not sure. But I know, and listen to the person that may have just lost your job, you're gonna bounce back. This is going to end. This is not, that's the concept of impermanence. Everything has an end point. So what can you do in this moment? What can you focus on? What can you control? You know, can you offset some things? Can you reach out to some folks like, hey, can you help me out right now? Right? Don't be ashamed of that. We're all in that boat. We've all had to dial back and do a little bit of reassessing. So, you know, if you're that person I'm talking to you, I'm going to ask you, okay, what can we control right now? What do you have the means to do? Okay, step two, is there something you can get rid of? There are things in your space that you can clean up, or there are memberships you can discontinue, or there are ways you can reduce your bills. And then what can you do for a job? Okay, what can I do right now? If I just lost my job and I don't know when it's going to come back, and I'm really focused on money and I need it, I'm going to go find a job somewhere, and I'm going to go everywhere I can to do that. And you're going to learn from it. And that's the cool part, because what you get to do in that situation is create so much fucking mental resilience and strength that when you do come out of the other side, you're going to have one hell of a story to share with everybody. This
Yeah.
is what happened to me, and look how I came out of this.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I've done it. I've done it. I've been there when I couldn't make my house payment for 3 months, and I struggled, and I called the mortgage company and had a good conversation with them, and I got a job at a gym uh, that paid me literally. I mean, I went from making a whole lot of money per hour to about a quarter of that per hour. And my girlfriend at the time, she was like, "What are you doing?" She's like, "You're better than this. You are so much smarter than this. You're so much whatever." I'm like, "I know, but this is what I'm doing." And I busted my ass for 6 months, and I enjoyed every fucking second of it, because I knew that on the other side of that, me busting my ass was making me stronger, and it was going to make me smarter. And it did both of those things.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. I had a client on the phone yesterday who, like, he's one of those situations where I don't give this advice to people very often, but there's a very specific situation. I go, yeah, you just got to sit and wait. Your your job is to see how much joy you can experience. As you know, it was brought up by Valerie. She's the
Yeah.
one that brought that, the word, she brought the word joy to this. It's like,
Hmm.
yeah, this now, there may be nothing to do.
Yeah.
And how much joy can you have in that nothingness? And that in
Yeah.
itself, if you can find joy in, that experience of there's nothing to do,
Hmm.
that's probably one of the toughest things for people to be able to
Hmm.
experience.
Yeah, because if we think that we have to be productive all the time, that's what we've been cultured and brought up to think and believe, that you wake up, you hustle, you grind. I mean, you guys talk about this all the time, man.
Yeah.
Like you used to, we're taught that if you're not up at this time and you're not, early bird gets the worm, and crushing life until you go to bed late, wake up and do it again, you're not being productive and you're never going to be successful. So we think that, that's what we believe. So when we wake up and we have a couple of days on our hands and we're like, well, what am I doing? Well, where are you thinking? Are you thinking about being stuck? Or are you thinking about what you get to enjoy in that point in time? You
Yeah.
know?
We also have a culture of lone wolf mentality. And it's not surprising to me. We
Mhm.
when America was built on a bunch of people who didn't like the way government was being run.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and so it's like yeah, it's gonna attract a lot of independent people who are then gonna breed and reproduce and have more independent thinking people. So there's like all these benefits to having independence, having
Hmm.
or at least the illusion of independence. And
Yeah.
the there's a little bit of this lone wolf thing that I notice is more prominent in the United States than it is in a lot of other countries. And um, yeah, and I'm witnessing some people that live in the United States that are from other places. They're like, "Oh, this is really interesting how we're responding to this pandemic
Hmm.
right now," and that the and I do think the source of some of the issues we're experiencing as Americans is the lone wolf mentality and the work hard. Like I got to grind from sundown. Who am I without my job? And people are wanting to go
Exactly.
out in the streets to protest. And I'm not saying anything's wrong or right, but the truth, the facts are people are going out to protest because they want to be able to go back to work and businesses want to open back up.
Hmm.
And uh, my perception of it is it, I think a lot of people are also the people who are wanting to protest are also very independent, very lone
Hmm.
wolf. It's like I got to do this on my own and asking for support. How do you talk to somebody who's very lone wolf and doesn't know how to ask for support? Because you work with military veterans who
Hmm.
are there's like a level of being able to work as a team when you're in
Yeah.
the military, but then there's also there's a part that most people in the military, including what I experienced, was like tough guy, keep that shit in, don't ask for help for this type of stuff, unless something's going on for work, you don't ask for support.
Hmm.
How do you have that conversation with somebody who's having a hard time asking for support? And I just fucking threw out a big cultural thing in that, but just
Yeah.
want I like to think about things on the micro and the macro,
Right.
and
Right.
the macro hurts me. Like if I spend too much time in the macro, I get frustrated. But on the
Right.
micro, where we're talking about the individual, it's like, oh, okay, I know how to handle this with one person.
Hmm. Yeah, man. Look, you have to think about why you're doing it. Why are you doing this? What is the reason behind it? Are you trying to find some identity in your job? Is there a lack of identity in who you are as a person? And like you said, like, I need to get back to my job. I need to get back to my job. Is it your job, or is it something you just go and do? Who are you and why are you doing it? And who are you outside of that? And I ask people that question all the time, man. Especially that lone wolf mentality, folks, is a great analogy. Is like, who is Mike Bledsoe? Who are you? I don't fuck strong coach, enlifted, all this other stuff. Who are you as a person? If I take all those things away, and I talk about that with Mike. Well, I'm a mother. No, okay, that's, yes, you are, but who are you as a person? If I took those things away from you, what would you be? Who would you be? And how would you be? And when you think about it, you can start to really dial in and answer those questions. It takes away a lot of that need and desire and want to go out and protest all these things that you think you should have and you should deserve as this person. Because when you find out who you really are, you realize that a lot of these things are just their wants. They're not needs. And sometimes they're needs, but most of the time they're wants, right? So thinking about why am I doing this and what's the purpose? And am I doing this for a reaction? Am I doing this to get a response? You know, and it's a tough one too, man, because a lot of times people, when they're in that mindset, they're not ready to receive the information. So it's a tricky situation. It's really one that I have to deal with it case by case, person by person, on a way to, you know, approach them so that they can receive the information that I'm trying to get through to them, and just and putting it in a way, in a context that's not, that doesn't seem or perceive to be attacking or degrading or whatever, and saying, hey, look, have you thought about like this? And helping them to start to realize and create the solution in their for themselves.
Yeah. Introducing new ideas when someone's in a stress state is quite the challenge. And
Exactly.
I guess this is where the breath work comes in handy. You know, it's like,
Hmm.
oh, you're too stressed to have this conversation. Let's breathe.
Hmm.
And if they're not open to breathing, then that's just someone who's not coachable.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to be able to tap into the breath first. And look, Brene Brown said it best, man. She was talking to a group of active duty Army SF guys, so special forces operators. And she was like, hey, is there vulnerability in what you guys do? And she's in a room with 20, she's like, I'm in the room with 26 active duty badass military men. And it was just silence. And then the commanding officer raised his hand. She was like, ma'am, there is no, she was like, is there vulnerability in courage or something like that? And he said, there is no courage without vulnerability. You have to be vulnerable in order to be courageous. So, you know, don't be a lone wolf. That is your pride talking. That is your ego telling you that I have to do this, but you don't. You can reach out. You can ask for help. You can say somebody, hey, man, just like our Marine did when he racked that round, is like, I need help. That was
Yeah.
his cry, right?
Yeah.
So when I'm talking to our guys, when I'm talking to our veterans, you know, in like this last class we did, we had all veterans and some first responders, and I take them and I do a 15-minute mindset session with them before every workout and then after every workout. So I've got 15 guys, and these dudes look like a bunch of freaking Vikings, like literally. 3 of them were 6'5" and had beards down to here, just like these men. And we're sitting on meditation chairs in a makeshift yurt with some blue lights, and we're talking about breath and our feelings. And I'm looking around the room like,
Dude, that's awesome.
nobody would believe this. But you know, I'm sitting here with all these hard dudes. They're just talking about, you know, how they're scared of this, and how they're concerned about that, and they're talking about, they're starting to let go of things, and the change, the positive change that happened within the confines of that small space was unbelievable, because they learned to not be the lone wolf, because they realized really quick that operating as the lone wolf serve them a very unique and specific purpose. But at the macro level, it's not going to serve you very well at all.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe it serves for a period of time, but ends up being the thing that holds you back.
Yeah. And especially if you have a family, right? If you have a family, if you have a spouse, if you have a boyfriend, girlfriend, whomever, that lone wolf mentality is not going to get you far, and it's going to impact that person. That negative impact you have on that person is going to could have a domino effect on the people around them and you.
Yeah. And if you don't have a boyfriend or girlfriend, it's not going to help you get one.
Exactly.
Mo, thanks for joining us today. I really appreciate it. Where can people find you?
Yeah, man. Thank you. You can find me on YouTube is Mos Brossette, my full name. You can find me on Instagram at Brossette_performance_coaching. I'm thinking about changing that because it's too damn long, but that's where it's at right now. And then my website is brossetteperformance.com. You can sign up for my 8-week masterclass there. A lot of other information about doing virtual coaching for companies, organizations, and personal coaching as well. And then Facebook is just Mos Brossette.
Rad. All right, man. I'll chat
Yeah.
with you later.
All right,
Thank
brother.
you.
Thank you. See ya.